Hey everyone, Keith Locke here. Today I want to talk about BoldGrid. Now, I spend a lot of time with it, playing with it, reading about the features, seeing what it can and cannot do, and actually testing everything out on my own. So I want to discuss that today. I was excited about it because my wife just recently jumped into wanting to create a website and an online presence, and she wanted to see what was out there. I'm biased with WordPress, and she wanted to see if there's anything else better that suits her needs. So she actually played with a lot of site building tools and different hosted blogging platforms, and she felt a lot of frustration with them all for whatever reason. And maybe it's due to her expectations of those that fell short, or just certain features weren't obvious to her. So when I started learning about BoldGrid, I felt like this was something I can discuss with her afterwards, and I was excited to share the feature set with her. And I thought, there might be a lot of people interested in this same thing, especially people that were previously frustrated with any of the site building tools. Now, I've been building websites for a very long time. I used to build in Notepad and Front Page, even using VB script, and a lot of times, like, I used to build my own content management systems for my clients, and like things such as creating a login page. A lot of times I started to get modular with things and was able to take the code for the login page and implement it in other sites. However, a lot of time I have to integrate it into the design, so it might be recoded sometimes. So it was a lot of work to launch a brand new website back in the day. So now we have tools like WordPress that simplifies so many things that we almost take it for granted at this point. But there's still, when you launch a website with WordPress, even with all of what it does for us, and especially in today's landscape, there's so much more that needs to be done still to be considered launch ready. It takes 5 minutes to install WordPress. That's true, and it's really simple interface to get used to. I feel, for most people, and you can be up and running in no time. But there's still a lot to do, really, to get a website ready for production. Now, so I was really excited about BoldGrid in the sense that you can build a business website, or I can build a business website for a client and have it all ready and customized within a day. Have everything 100% complete within a day. And I think that any business owner can do the same. In fact, it's probably more appropriate for the business owner to go through that creation process themselves in a lot of cases, and customize, especially the customization stage, in terms of getting the branding right, the colors, the logos, and making sure that the copy, the content on the web page is more their voice, right? So I think and this tool, BoldGrid, makes it so that that's something that I feel any beginner user can do, and they can spend literally, I feel like within an 8-hour workday or less, they can have their website up and running with BoldGrid. And the cool thing is about BoldGrid specifically is that there's certain hosting partners that BoldGrid partnered with, and you create a hosting account with them. They give you a free domain name, so you don't have to go through the domain name registration process with a different company or anything like that. You get the domain name, WordPress is installed for you, and then BoldGrid is installed for you. And then you just have to go through the wizard to create the website. And the process is like this. I'll explain the process right now. When you're creating a BoldGrid website, essentially you go through this little wizard and you're presented with different categories. And each category, for different business verticals like consulting, photography, service businesses, real estate. Now you choose the category, and then you're presented with several themes that you can choose within that category. And these themes they're part of the BoldGrid framework. They were designed in a very specific way. And now, regardless of what category you choose, a lot of the same themes show up. So there's a lot of people erroneously saying that there's 200 plus themes with BoldGrid. That's not the case, but that doesn't really matter. The thing is, when you choose a category, you're presented with these different theme options, maybe 10 to 15 if I recall correctly. And what's unique about them is that there's boilerplate, there's template content that exists within them that's very specific to the category that you chose. So if you choose real estate, maybe the same theme will show up whether you chose plumbing or photography, but the difference is that the content that shows up within it is specific to the industry that you chose. Now, you're not going to keep that content in there. It's just there to give you a good indication of what you might want to put on any particular page of your website. And the content was written by people in that same industry. So the lingo is the same, the jargon is all there, and the important details of what shows up on, say an about page, for example, are there. So the business owner can jump in and actually make changes to that text. And the layout's already in place, so they can just make changes to the text after the website's built, and then, but they have something to go on. So it's not just a default basic website that you would get out of the box with WordPress, where you have to create your own pages and decide what pages to create and stuff like that. These pages are already created, and the content is in there as a jumping off point. So here's the process, very simple. You go create what's called a new inspiration, which is your website. You create a new inspiration, and the cool thing here is you have the opportunity to, if there's already an existing website in place, what you can do is create a staging website. So you can just play with the website before it actually goes live. So there's two different versions of your website running if you choose to. There's the version that only you're looking at until it's ready to go, and then there's the live version. But initially, starting out, you create the live version, the first version of it, and you choose the category that you want. Then you choose the theme, and then what happens is BoldGrid goes to their servers, downloads all the information that's necessary and all the tools, and installs them for you. So there's no plugin installation, theme installation, or anything like that. That's all done for you. That all happens behind the scenes, like as you're clicking through the wizard. Now, I'm going to deviate just for a second and talk about buying themes in the marketplace. A lot of times, my strategy in the past when building a client website for a business is I would choose a really nice theme that made sense for that industry. So I might pay $65 for a really nice theme, and that's reasonably priced. But there's a lot of functionality that exists within those themes a lot of times that's really meant for plugins. So when you do that, when that sort of thing happens, you can't easily switch themes without a lot of extra effort trying to get your site content back to where it was prior. Now, because a lot of stuff is built into that theme, whereas the approach with BoldGrid is a lot different. You're not married to a theme. You could switch themes at any time, and all your content remains the same. And that is the case a lot of times with other when you buy a premium theme, because you can buy a premium theme for a plumbing website, for example, and that's the route I would always go in the past. Spend, say, $65 on ThemeForest and buy a plumbing theme. But then if I still wanted to have a plumbing website later on, I'm now required to buy another $65 theme if I wanted to switch themes on that website. If somebody wanted to change the way their website looked, or if the theme developer just abandoned that project and was no longer doing updates and it didn't work anymore in the new version of WordPress, we would have to switch themes. For whatever reason we're switching themes, there's a lot of work that is involved with that when it should be just the click of a button to switch a theme. And that's what I really like about BoldGrid, in the sense that you can just, you create your content, your background images are all part of your content. Everything stays the same, and then you can switch themes anytime. And your logos carry over, your icons carry over, because that's all done in the WordPress customizer. So that's all carried over when you switch themes. Now that's features that are specific to both WordPress and BoldGrid both. It's not just a BoldGrid thing. It's both WordPress and BoldGrid that allows for that functionality. So switching themes is a breeze in the future. So when you're going through the wizard, you can choose a theme, but you can always choose a different theme later on. And you can play with that theme in a staging environment before it goes live, which is really, really cool. And if you screw everything up, if you go through, when you're going through the process, there's a start over procedure, and you choose there's 3 or 4 or 5 different things that you can start over, different segments of this wizard that you can start over with, and then go back through the process. That's really cool. If you're not happy with the end result, start over. That feature is inbuilt. There's not a lot of, you just click a couple boxes and a button and you're able to start over. So to keep things simple, they created a wizard. So you go through, select your category, select the theme that you like, and you can do a preview of the theme. And then the next step, you choose what page set you want. There's the option where you can just do some basic pages, the standard home, about, contact page, but then there's also one where it opens up a lot more pages for you, and you can just choose which ones you want to actually keep in the end, then also choose which ones show up in the menus and different things like that. And that's all. There's an intuitive, very simple to use user interface for that. So after you choose that, you also get the option. This is where I'm not 100% on board with it, but I get it. I understand. What happens is when they're creating your website for you with the templated content, with the content, with the articles and the different descriptions that show up within it. So the text content, and there's also image content that shows up. So during the wizard, you're given a choice of if you want everything to be 100% free, or if you have certain number of credits that you can apply to this project. So now, it's not clear during the wizard what that even means, but I'll tell you, you can buy credits from BoldGrid, and that allows you can with your credits, you can buy them right within your WordPress dashboard. And with your credits, you are able to buy stock images. So during the process of the creation, if you say that there's certain you have a certain budget, say 20 credit budget for this project, it may insert images within your project that before you go live, they're watermarked images, and then before you go live, to unwatermark them, you have to pay X amount of credits to get them unwatermarked. Now, for me personally, I don't really see value in stock images to the point where I would actually pay for them. And I don't know what the credits are worth, so I don't know what the BoldGrid system charges for these. I do know that the credit system in general, it was designed to kind of mask what you're actually paying for something. I know you can do the math quickly, but when people are just spending credits, it doesn't feel like they're actually spending any kind of money. So you buy the credits up front. And in fact, with BoldGrid, you get like 20 up front with certain hosts, as far as I understand. So so you're buying these images with credits, but there's so many image resources out there with free, like CC0, Creative Commons 0 license, where you don't even have to apply attribution. You don't even have to cite the source of the images, and you get free, beautiful images. Plus, everybody has a cell phone these days or a tablet, and they can take their own photos. So I don't really see, personally, value in buying stock photos. I just don't. However, that's a feature that's built in, and if you choose that if you don't want to be 100% free with your website, you have to choose a credit budget during the process of the creation of this website. And with that, it might insert images that require unwatermarking, and that requires credits to unlock them. So for me, I would just choose the free option, and then if I wanted to change any of the images later, I would just use CC0 licensed images. However, they do enhance the media library within WordPress to include photos from Flickr, so you can do searches. There's another photo gallery that they include photos from through API calls. So it's essentially is pulling in images for you. So it creates a lot of media in the library that you can insert. Some are free, some require credits. So I think that's pretty cool. It would be nice if we can choose some of our own image repositories to get that in there. But I don't think that's in place, or if it ever will be, I'm not sure. But that's a cool feature that you can find images within the media library that you didn't add yourself, which I think is pretty cool. So after creation, after the process where you choose your credit budget and it generates all the pages that you want, whatever page set you chose, it generates that. You actually have a workable website that you can view live on your domain name. So you can actually look at this website, and it's, like I said, it's got content, like templated content in there. In fact, the phone number might be like 555-555 5. Like, it's, you have to go in there and modify those sort of things later on, naturally. Like, they're not gonna, it's not specific to your company yet, but it's generic enough that you get a good idea of like, wow, this is what my website looks like. Now suddenly you start adding your own text in there, your own phone number, your own address, your own like your own logo and color scheme and stuff like that. So the next step after the creation of that website, you go through the customization steps. And these are very simple, and they're all laid out. You just go start from the top and go down. You can choose the fonts that you want, the 1 or 2 or 3 different fonts that you want to be carried out through the entire website. You choose that within the customizer. And then there's a palette tool, like you can just choose a different color palette. Now, the customization process I sort of skimmed through. I'm a kind of guy, I'm not a designer by any means, and designers created these layouts, and I appreciate the type of work that they put into it, and I know they have a designer's eye. So a lot of times I don't change any of that. I might change the fonts to match the style of what I'm trying to portray, the voice for that particular website. And of course you want to add your logos and icons and color scheme. But beyond that, I didn't dig too deep into there, but I know you can include background images or textured styles for the backgrounds, stuff like that. That's all inbuilt in there, so you can go through those steps anytime. It doesn't have to be through the wizard process. You can just go through those steps whenever you want. Then after that, once that's done, so everything's customized as far as the look and feel, then you go in to the pages and posts afterwards and modify any of the text that exists within there. Excuse me. Oh yeah, prior to that, during the customization, you can also customize the menus. Like, what pages actually show up in the menus. So you can do that in the customizer, and you can go back to that customizer anytime you want. All right, so now as far as pages and posts go, there's layouts that already exist with, depending on the category and the theme that you chose. But modifying those layouts is actually quite simple. I played with a lot of drag and drop website builders with WordPress before. I was never really impressed with any of them. There's a lot of technical reasons why I didn't appreciate those, but this one's actually very simple to use. It does create a lot of different HTML and CSS within the page editor, but that can't be avoided. But everything ends up being responsive, which is cool. So it works in mobile no matter what. All these things that you're doing, these layouts are mobile friendly. So when depending on what screen the user is viewing your website on, it'll look good in any of those screen sizes or orientations, which is really cool. And and adding new grids, new bold grids, or what, I'm not sure what they're called exactly, the exact terminology, but when you're adding a new layout or grid style or grid block, that's what they're called, grid block. When you're adding one of those, it's a very simple to use interface. It's exactly like adding an image or a PDF. You just open the media library. There's new options in there, and BoldGrid presented adding new layouts. There's a whole library of layouts that you can add, and then also you can add a Google map, and then different types of forms. It leverages the Ninja Forms plugin, so you can add different forms, and there's a lot of forms that are preset that you can just insert right into your pages if you want to. And it's all done through the media library, very simple to use. And one feature that really stood out to me that I really like with this tool is when you're in the actual page editor, you don't even have to view the website or anything like that. You're within the page editor. In visual view, you can actually see a visual representation of what the page will look like on the desktop. But also you can switch views. You can switch to a tablet view or a mobile view right within the page editor or post editor and see what it looks like. And you can actually modify each of those views independently. Now, I don't know how they accomplish that behind the scenes. I didn't look that deep into things, and I'm hoping and I'm expecting and assuming that it's an efficient process. Like, I don't imagine there's 3 different versions of each page created. Maybe, but whatever the case, it's all built in, very simple to modify, very simple to get a preview of what it looks like in all orientations. Even if you're just viewing on your laptop or desktop computer, you can see what it looks like in the tablet and the phone. And that's a really unique feature that stood out to me with BoldGrid. And that was one of the big, when I started reading about it, that was one of the big features for me, being able to see what everything looks like, within the page editor. That's the key aspect to it, and being able to modify it for each view, which was really neat. And there's other features that they boast. They talk about SEO. I don't know if that's a reasonable thing to consider a feature with BoldGrid, the SEO aspects. They offer the option for a title and description for SEO, and that's it. And I know that even WordPress.com calls that advanced SEO, but really the way BoldGrid uses that data, I don't know, is very valuable. I wish there was an option to turn that off and just use like a standard SEO plugin, because the way that data is used isn't actually, it doesn't feel to me, I wouldn't call that a feature, SEO with BoldGrid. But with that said, there's so many aspects to building a website that finding a host that installs WordPress for you, even having WordPress available to us for free, is a huge leap forward in building a website. Having that available to us is a huge leap forward from starting from scratch. Of course, there's so many inbuilt features that make sense for just about any website, that having that at our fingertips within a few minutes, that's a big step forward. But then there's so much else that needs to go into that, and BoldGrid fills a lot of that gap, to the point where you have a functioning website, like I said, within a day. Within an 8-hour workday, you can have a functioning website that's ready for traffic, ready for business. And I think that's great. Is there more to do beyond that? Of course. A lot of the things that I would put into a website beyond that, they may not be something or things that are important until they become known. But there is performance gains that can be made on a particular website. But for local business websites with local traffic, a lot of times that's not 100% necessary to even consider, especially in the early stages. So out of the box, performance is actually pretty good anyway with WordPress. And even the hosted partners that BoldGrid chose, they have fast hard drives, and there's different things that the servers have, different features that make it so that performance is sort of a feature out of the box too, in a sense. There's a lot that could be done with that naturally, and also security is a big thing. There's a lot of web hosts that understand that performance and security are aspects to creating a website, and they make that a feature of their hosting package, and they charge for that feature. There's an increased monthly cost to that, but that takes a lot of that out of the hands of the consumer, of the business owner, of the website builder. A lot of the performance and security is they take the onus for that. They take it on. They don't want their servers hacked either, so they put measures in place for that anyway. But they also don't want bad customer experience so they might charge you a little bit more, but they handle a lot of the performance and security tasks. Not all of them, because there's different viewpoints on how to get the best performance or security out of a website, especially a WordPress website. So there's a lot of differing opinions there. So some hosts will just they'll implement their own opinions, and then others will be a little bit more flexible, where you can kind of set up your own system a little bit or leverage theirs if you want to. So there's that. I would really like to see BoldGrid partner with DreamHost, because DreamHost has a managed managed WordPress hosting package for less than $25 a month. And it handles a lot of the security and performance aspects that I would put in manually. So out of the box, you got the hosting, you got the WordPress, you got the BoldGrid, and then you would have all that extra performance and security at your fingertips as well. So that's a lot less you would have to do now or in the future. I mean, I'm not taking away from the fact that just having WordPress and BoldGrid installed for you and that beautiful wizard that brings a business website available online within a day. I'm not downplaying that by any means, but there are other aspects to it, namely performance, security, even SEO. I think it's misrepresentative to suggest that BoldGrid handles SEO properly. Like, I think there's a lot more that can be done with SEO, a lot more. I don't even think that they handle 5% of what we can do for SEO with BoldGrid. But the building of a website is essentially done for you, so that's a beautiful thing. Now, what else? Web accessibility is another concern. Not a concern, but a factor to consider that doesn't exist within the default WordPress BoldGrid system. That's something that you might want to consider: the accessibility of a website. The usability of a website. Usability, these themes are actually written well, and everything is laid out really nicely. So usability may not be an issue, but it depends on your industry. And other aspects include discoverability, or putting your content in different verticals. There's Google News. You can make your content available for Google News. So that might be extra steps that you have to take in the future. Facebook Instant Articles, accelerated mobile pages, Apple News, setting your website up so that Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, Google search results, so that they can show your content in a more attractive way. They could pull in your content. So there's more work to be done in that aspect. A lot of those things are meant for more global websites than they are for local business websites. So backtracking here a little bit, coming from the point of view of creating a website for a local business with generally local traffic, you can get set up with BoldGrid. The hosting packages that I looked at for their partners are less than $100 a year, and you get a free domain name with that. And there's really nothing else more to pay for, because BoldGrid comes pre-packaged with this hosting. It's a free option with this hosting when you choose the BoldGrid hosting package. So less than $100 a year, or a few bucks a month if you're paying monthly. And you have a local business website up and running within a day. I can't stress that enough. It's within a day. You can have a local business website set up and running with your about page, contact page. Everything's functioning. You log in to manage your content. You can log in from a mobile phone to manage your content. All that stuff is in place within a day. As far as the other features like performance, SEO, security, that can come with time and only when necessary. And SEO is probably the biggest factor in all of those for a local business website. And then naturally there's the privacy policy and cookie policy and different legal documents that should be in place as well. That's one area where I think that should be covered pre-launch more than anything else. So with WordPress, BoldGrid, and legal docs in place, you're ready to go with a business website. So that's my take on BoldGrid. I like it. I would definitely recommend it to people. I would recommend it to my wife if she was building a local business website for herself, or a service website. It is valuable for other types of websites as well. But for me, I wouldn't use BoldGrid for other types of websites, but for business websites, absolutely. Just a week ago, I was considered, like, from a maintenance point of view and security, performance, and all that stuff, I was really considering WordPress.com, hosted WordPress.com, as the solution for building business websites. And because that just makes it cuts the timeline significantly. But with BoldGrid, it makes, with a project that might take half a week on WordPress.com and cost actually a little bit more money, or potentially a lot more money per month, you can actually set up with BoldGrid on self-hosted WordPress with more flexibility and less time and less money. So I would, at present, BoldGrid coupled with WordPress would be my recommended solution for a business owner to launch their own website, or for a web development company to use for launching business websites. I think it's a great system, boldgrid.com. Check it out. And that's all I got for now. All right. Thanks for listening.